Good evening and welcome on board the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. Did the government try and tweak India's constitutional symbol, the national emblem, the Sarnath Ashoka lions? Or is the opposition just making a mountain out of a molehill? That's my top focus on the Newstrack tonight.
Ferocious face-off over national emblem. Fury over calm lion becoming angry. Lions bare teeth. Opposition in dizzy. Sher pe shor is the new political war. Big focus on Newstrack.
There's a ferocious political war raging on the national emblem that was unveiled less than 24 hours ago by Prime Minister Modi. The opposition, which first questioned why the Prime Minister had inaugurated the structure, is now calling the design aggressive and accusing the centre of changing constitutional symbols. This is a charge the government denies.
The gleaming bronze burnished national emblem cast, unveiled by Prime Minister Modi, finding pride of place on India's showcase new Parliament building. But a day on, the four lions continue to draw sharp opposition barbs. The TMC saw Modi's lions as ferocious beasts, snarling and unnecessarily aggressive. Party MP Jawahar Sirkar calling the emblem cast an absolute assault on the original Ashokan pillar, which he said was graceful and regal.
It was a disaster. The four lions, which should appear magnanimous, should appear regal, were appearing aggressive and also disproportionate. This is what happens when opposition leaders and opposition parties are not taken into confidence and consultation. What a shame.
The Congress accused the centre of changing the character of Ashoka's pillar at Sarnath.
Our presence, at least by invitation, should have been mandatory. It only displays and reflects narrow-mindedness, pettiness, and ought to have been completely avoided. It reflects a wrong approach, a malafide approach, and I would clearly condemn this.
The statue in the new parliament looks like it has more pronounced teeth, expanded chest, and shown in a roaring expression when compared to the 2,500-year-old Ashokan pillar originally at Sarnath. Opposition parties, including the AIMIM and the Congress too, joined the chorus slamming the government.
संविधान के जानकार क्या कहते हैं? वो भारत के प्रियम्बल का हिस्सा है. लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी, फ्रेटर्निटी, जस्टिस, आप उसको भी भूल रहे हैं. थियरी ऑफ सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर्स इंपॉर्टेंट है देश के लोकतंत्र के लिए. अगर एग्जीक्यूटिव लेजिस्लेचर पर हावी हो जाएगा तो गलत होगा हमारे लोकतंत्र के लिए.
The BJP, however, defended the emblem as true reflection of India's glory, saying that the opposition was comparing a 2D image to a 3D structure.
जिन लोगों ने संविधान को अपने पैरों तले कुचला, जिन लोगों ने संवैधानिक परंपराओं का मजाक उड़ाया, आज वो उस एम्बलम से डरते हैं जो भारत का प्रतीक है, जो भारत का गौरव है.
Has the Modi government tinkered with the national emblem, or the opposition is trivializing the issue in a desperate bid to target the government? Bureau Report, India Today.
A ferocious controversy has broken out over the representation of the national emblem atop the new building of Parliament. Is the opposition justified in feeling left out? Is the Modi government indeed tweaking and changing on constitutional emblems without building a broader consensus? Or is it just the same emblem and the opposition is making a big song and dance for absolutely no reason? Leaders of the opposition are saying the lions you see in that Ashok stambh are toxically masculine. Is that just a way of seeing things? Because those who made the sculpture are saying it's just the same stambh which has been represented going back to 1860. Joining us on the Newstrack, I want to welcome first Jawahar Sarkar, Member of Parliament of the Trinamool Congress, joining us from Kolkata. With us on this broadcast is one of India's leading advocates, Aryama Sundaram, Senior Advocate in the Supreme Court. Lakshman Vyas joins us. Lakshman Vyas is an artist, a sculptor, joins us from Jaipur, was involved in this construction project. Rahul Srivastav is our National Affairs Editor and he joins us as well. I want to go across to Jawahar Sarkar to lay out his objections to the manner in which this ceremony was conducted, to the lions and the way that they've been depicted. Why is it that you think the government is out of line in getting the Prime Minister to inaugurate the emblem, and in the manner in which the lions have been depicted?
You see, relating to the first question about the ceremony, as a member of parliament, I feel hurt when a new parliament building is to be inaugurated or one of its important structures is being unveiled with a lot of ceremony, and we know nothing about the building. No one was consulted. There was no parliamentary debate on how the new building should be. If at all we required a new building, what are the parameters, what is the structure, what is the architecture, what is the layout? Nothing was discussed. It is like I give it, you say clap me, that's all. And about the ceremony was also true to style. I think just 4 persons, they tugged at some string or a switch and the statue went up perhaps hydraulically. Now there were no leaders of the opposition. The LOP, the leader of the opposition, at least in the Rajya Sabha, is a statutory position. Other leaders of the opposition could also have been called instead of making it such an exclusive event of only BJP supporters. Anyway, now moving on to the wider question is, it's not a question of whether I am saying. I am just pointing out to the people of India who have a discerning eye to see whether the lions in the Ashoka stambh, in the national symbol that we have, or the state emblem as we call it, matches that of the replica that has been put up. There are so many distortions that hit the eye. There are photographs of people who have taken by people who have gone up, and you can see there is an unnecessary aggression in the mouths of the lions. This is the sort of aggression that you see in dear Hanuman, who's portrayed as a lovely creature in our imagination, but comes out rather cruel and aggressive on the stickers behind cars. It's the same aggression that's coming out. Now it's up to the government to explain that there is no distortion.
Okay, let me put that question then to Sanju Verma from the BJP, Mr. Sarkar, who joins us on this broadcast. You're saying it's like the angry Hanuman controversy, a genial, kind God, then shown in a very ferocious avatar. It's what we are doing with the lions as well. Jawahar Sarkar and many in the opposition, Sanju, very perturbed. They're saying you're messing with our constitutional symbols, with the national emblem. The opposition hasn't been consulted. People haven't been told. How can the emblem suddenly change? Asks Jawahar Sarkar. Sanju Verma.
You know, Rahul, I am not answerable to Jawahar Sarkar, who incidentally is a Rajya Sabha MP from the Trinamool Congress. And when Jawahar Sarkar sits on your show and gives a long bhashan on constitutional values and democratic ethos to the Modi government, let me remind him that his leader Mamata Banerjee on the 23rd of January, a couple of months back, when we celebrated Netaji Bose's birth anniversary as Parakram Divas, the Prime Minister was sitting there and she chose to walk away in a huff simply because some people chanted Jai Shri Ram. This is the same Mamata Banerjee.
Okay, that's a controversy we've left in the past. I want to talk about whether, and first everyone just look at those images. Just look at those images. On the one, okay, one second. On the one side of the screen, you've got images of the national emblem as it was shown in the past. On the other side, you've got the roaring expression. That's what he's objecting to. Sanju, respond. I want to stick to the current controversy, please.
Rahul, why is it that each time the BJP wants to make a point, you interrupt in the middle? I did not see you interrupting when Jawahar Sirkar was talking. Let me finish my point. You can rebut me.
Go on.
I simply want to call out the hypocrisy of people like Jawahar Sirkar, whose own party leader Mamata Banerjee has spared no effort to undermine constitutional values. Don't you know the manner in which she treats the West Bengal governor, Mr. Jagdeep Dhankar? Don't you know this is the same Mamata Banerjee who said she had not been invited to the Rabindranath Jayanti celebration on the 7th of May, and then the BJP exposed Mamata Banerjee by showing a letter which had been sent to her a month back. The point is that democracy khatre mein hai since 2014, ever since Narendra Modi took charge as the Prime Minister. And people like Mr. Jawahar Sirkar have not been able to digest that. You should look at the language of his tweet. He sent out a tweet at 12:26 p.m. on the 11th of July saying Amit Shah and Narendra Modi are trying to buy out democracy. He again sent a tweet on the 11th of July at 5:53 p.m. saying that the entire parliament building...
Now, Sanju, one second, I must butt in because you're spending a lot of time. My time is limited. We must debate the lions and the depiction of the lions. You can't spend so much time going away from the topic. This is what you've been called on. Please respond to that. Yes, please come to the point quickly.
My simple, limited point is this. I request Mr. Jawahar Sirkar to go and educate himself, because under Article 74, Rahul, and under Article 75 of the Constitution, the Prime Minister has sweeping executive, legislative powers, including powers pertaining to foreign policy, public policy, what have you. And I challenge Mr. Sirkar, please tell me which provision of Article 74 and which provision of Article 75 under the Indian Constitution have Narendra Modi flouted by inaugurating the cast of that national emblem atop the roof of the new parliament building.
Okay, let Jawahar Sirkar respond. What is the specific violation? The opposition was saying the speaker or the president should have been there. Sanju Verma says that is incorrect. The Prime Minister has executive powers.
It's in very poor taste. It's in very poor taste and militates against the spirit of democracy, spirit of accommodation that Samrat Ashoka had represented through his
Sanju, let him speak, please.
Including the very controlled lion. It's in poor taste. It's in poor taste.
75 has been flouted by the Prime Minister. I challenge you, Jawahar Sirkar. You were the
Let Jawahar Sirkar speak, please.
I think she's gone way off the subject in a fit of anger, and it's time we focused on the subject. The Constitution has got nothing to do with it, excepting that it is as sacred as the national emblem and the national flag. Each has their own jurisdictions, and here I feel that any tampering with the national symbol or the national flag is a dishonor and has punitive measures in the law. So whether this is a transgression or not can be decided by experts. It's not a single man's optical view of a problem. It looks very odd, and it is time that the nation's view was taken in that direction, and I considered it my duty to place it.
Okay, Lakshman Vyas is the artist and sculptor who was involved in this project. Jawahar Sirkar, let's ask him. Lakshman ji, जो विपक्ष के नेता हैं वो कह रहे हैं कि आपने ये जो स्तंभ बनाया है अशोक स्तंभ उसके साथ खिलवाड़ किया, आपने उसको चेंज कर दिया। जिस तरीके से 1860 से चला आ रहा था अशोक स्तंभ, आपने उसमें पहले लायन बड़ा डोसाइल सा खामोश सा बैठा हुआ है, आपके यहाँ पे लायन एकदम खतरनाक सा है। ऐसा आपने क्यों किया? क्या आपने चेंज किया है नेशनल सिंबल को?
जी, हम कोई चेंज नहीं कर सकते। वो जो मॉडल था, जो दिया गया था हमें, वही मॉडल जो सारनाथ का जो है वही मॉडल उसी को बनाया गया है।
पर दिख तो काफी अलग रहा है। देखा जाए अगर आप तस्वीरों को बैक टू बैक रखते हैं साथ में, तो जो साधारण तौर पे जैसे हम देखते हैं उसमें मुंह लायन का बंद है, आपके यहाँ पे मुंह दहाड़ रहा है। वो कह रहे हैं एंग्री हनुमान की तरह है कि पहले हनुमान जी एकदम शांत और विनम्र थे, अब एकदम खतरनाक से दिख रहे हैं।
नहीं, मेरा जो जयपुर में जो काम हुआ वो कास्टिंग का काम हुआ है। हमने क्ले मॉडल नहीं बनाया। जो ये टाटा कंपनी जो है, गवर्नमेंट है, उन्होंने ही दिया हमें। मेरा काम था यहाँ से कास्टिंग करके और वहाँ पे स्थापित करना।
Okay, Aryama Sundaram joins us. Lakshman Vyas, the sculptor, says, I did what I was asked to. Now don't get into the semantics with me. We've got a furious debate between government and opposition playing itself out. Do you think the government is in the wrong, or do you think the opposition is making an unnecessary mountain out of a molehill?
Look, Rahul, you're talking about a furious debate between the opposition and the government. So please tell me anything new. Anything the government does, the opposition, if it gets a chance, will pounce on. There are two issues which have been raised here, both of which I think are non-starters. And let me tell you why. The first issue is, why was it that the Prime Minister was the master of ceremonies there and had done what he did? And should it not be the Speaker? Or should it not be the President? Let's understand one thing. Although in India we have the executive, legislature and the judiciary, the actual executive and legislature are very combined in India. It's not like the United States where you can't be a legislator and be a minister. You have to give up one or the other. Well, in India, you have to be a legislator to be a minister, so the executive and legislature is intertwined. Now let's understand. The de facto leader of the House, the master of the House is the Speaker. The de facto leader of the House is the Prime Minister. The head of the executive is the President. But the de facto head of the executive is the Prime Minister, because the President acts on his advice. So actually, if you look at it that way, the Indian parliamentary system, it is the Prime Minister who's really de facto the person who's both the head of the legislature and the head of the executive. So while you may stand on semantics and say niceties may have required someone else to do it, or etc., the fact of the matter is the Prime Minister doing so cannot be faulted, because the Prime Minister, after all, is the elected head of government, the elected head by the people of India. So I feel what we made out is a mountain out of molehill. Maybe someone could have said, look here, good form would have said, why could the Speaker not be there? Why could the President not be there? That's a matter of form. It is not a matter of substance, and I really cannot find any fault in the Prime Minister as the elected leader of the country being the person to have done so. That is point number one. The second is on the emblem itself. Now, the fact of the matter is, a disrespect, let's understand, disrespect to the emblem, disrespect to the flag, these are offenses. Now, you may turn around and say, this is not ditto or identical with the emblem as it stood. The sculptor should have done an absolute carbon copy replica. That could be a view. But the emblem which has been done is not a disrespect to the national emblem. For anyone to turn around and say you have disrespected the emblem. On a much lighter vein, I for one will say that in 1860, maybe the passive lion was more representative of the times. And maybe today, in 2022, a more aggressive lion shows India's position in the whole world. Now, these are matters of opinion. But the fact is there has been no disrespect shown to the emblem to make such a fuss out of.
Interesting points from Arima Sundaram there. Kanchan Gupta is the media advisor to the Government of India. He joins me on this broadcast. But even if we move from a passive to aggressive lion, and even if that was representative of India back in 1816, a more aggressive lion represents New India and people like it, the question the opposition asks is, why change a constitutional symbol without a wider consultation and debate? Why not involve the opposition? Why not have a discussion which then leads to change? Why suddenly inaugurate a lion that looks different from the lion of the past? Kanchan Gupta.
Rahul, let me just cut in for 1 second. The constitutional emblem has not been changed. It continues being the three lions. That has not been changed. The depiction of the lion might have been artistically changed a bit. And according to me, that is not disrespect to the emblem at all.
Okay. Arima Sundaram thinks it's not disrespect. Let Kanchan Gupta come in now. Kanchanda.
I don't want to wade into a debate with what Mr. Sundaram said is very substantive and really sums up the core of the issue. And as for the rest, I don't want to wade into a debate with them because they clearly are ignorant of the story behind the national emblem. The Sarnath capital, the lion capital at Sarnath, which was atop the Ashoka pillar, is still preserved, and anybody can go and see and find out what the the 4 lions, what do they look like? And the picture of that can be easily accessed on the internet. What has been put atop the new parliament building is a copy of the original lion capital of Ashoka, which was on top of Ashoka pillar at Sarnath. And a comparison between what has come up and what is preserved will tell you that they are similar. Now, whether the mouth of the lion is open wider by an inch or by a couple of inches, that's a matter of perception. That doesn't take away from the fact that it is a true copy. Number one. Number two, when we come to the national emblem, people talk of the national emblem as Mr. As the eminent lawyer on your show just now explained, that the national emblem has not been changed. The national emblem is still the lion capital. It was the lion capital. It is still the lion capital. The 4 lions are still there, and they are the way they should have been. And the third point, which I would like to make and then conclude, it is that when the original copy of the Constitution was being hand-scripted for all the Constituent Assembly members to sign, the task of preparing the hand-scripted copy of the Constitution was given to Nandalal Bose, the famous artist who was a teacher at Kala Bhavan in Vishwa Bharati. He was the principal of the School of Fine Arts over there. And he distributed the work. The opening page of the Constitution was to have the national emblem, which is the lion capital. So he gave the job of reducing a 4-dimensional object into a 3-dimensional object, a 3-dimensional depiction, to his student Dinanath Bhargava. And Dinanath Bhargava then adapted. It was more a line drawing than a painting. He adapted a 3-dimensional version of the 4-dimensional lion capital, and that is how it appears on the opening page of the Constitution. Now, if you look at the various forms in which the national emblem appears, they appear on pips of defense and security personnel. It appears on letterheads, it appears on cards, and no two depiction is the same. But the fact is, and again I go back to what Mr. Sundaram said, that there is absolutely no change in the national emblem. What we are used to is a 3-dimensional representation, and that 3-dimensional representation was an adaptation. What has gone up on top of the new parliament building is a copy of the original lion capital of Emperor Ashoka, which stood atop the Ashoka stambh at Sarnath. And I think that about sums it up. The rest of what the criticism is total bunk. Thank you.
Okay, I want to go across to Rahul Srivastava because he looked at that ceremony very closely. Questions first being asked about the Prime Minister being the master of ceremonies. R.M.R. Sundaram tried to respond to it. And Kanchan Gupta makes an important point about going back to the original symbol at the Sarnath lions. If you look at the lion that's atop the Ashoka pillar, this is what it looks like. Don't look at those 2D, 3D drawings because that's just a pencil drawing of what is actually seen on top of Sarnath. Rahul Srivastava.
See, Rahul, when one student watched from a distance what the statue, the emblem looked like, I think one was taken by the sheer size of it. I think that's where lies the problem. The 6.5 meter tall structure has actually weighs nearly 9,500 kilos. It is resting on 6,500 kilos of steel structure. Now, see the process which it has gone through. 100 artisans. It is 32 meters above the ground. first a computer sketch was prepared, then a clay model was prepared, then a lost wax model, it's a technique, then a wax model, and then a bronze cast was created. Now, in that, if there are certain artistic variations or variations due to creation, one really can't say, because I think nobody can actually judge a small picture with a huge structure like that, because there might be variation. Eventually, you're creating something in metal. What actually strikes you is the sheer size of it. Yes, it does look fierce, but does it look fierce only because it is fierce, or it is because it is so large? I don't think anybody in this country or the world ever has seen an Ashokan symbol, lion capital symbol like this ever in their lives. And I think it will sink in. I think it will sink in. There is a bit of an aggression visible, definitely, but is it a huge variation? I think one will have to go back literally to Sarnath, view it in the museum, and see if there has been some tempering, whether the molars are larger, the fangs are bigger, or the talons are, the lion's nails are bigger, the horses are mutilated. I think all these are parts of the debate. I think we are getting used to the idea of bickering over national events. We create grounds for them, Rahul. For example, I think the controversy about the Prime Minister unveiling it, I think that also is a very interesting element, that why is it being raised at this moment? Ariman Sundaram raised the point. If you go back to the Constitution's Article 79, it says there shall be a parliament for the union which shall consist of the president and the two houses. Means the president is the intrinsic part. Even if you go to Call and Shakdar, it says that the parliament consists of the two houses and the president. Now, the order of precedence issued on the 26th of July 1979 clearly says President number 1, Vice President number 2, Prime Minister number 3, Speaker number 6. So I don't know why this order of precedence that the Speaker should have been allowed. If Speaker should have been allowed, then in 1956, Jawaharlal Nehru should not have unveiled the picture or portrait of Lokmanya Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak inside the Central Hall of Parliament, because the Speaker, Mr. Mavlankar, was around. Now, all these fine prints have been violated in the past. If you see the Parliament Annexi building, inaugurated by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, October 1975. Rajiv Gandhi in 87 inaugurates the Parliament Library building. Now, if Prime Ministers have been doing it in the past, and you call this a violation, I will say it is a bad precedence which has become a habit now.
This is a high-quality debate, and I really appreciate the level of depth our speakers are being able to add. Let me put that question to Jawahar Sircar. One, respond to Arima Sundaram saying that the Prime Minister is the head of the executive, who is way above the Speaker in inaugurating things like the lions on top of the Parliament building, and it's been done going back to Indira Gandhi, going back to Pandit Nehru by several Prime Ministers in the past. So why complain just because Prime Minister Modi is doing it and you don't like his politics?
No, that's not the question. That's being oversimplistic, and we have had a lot of information, some relevant, some not so relevant. Now, Prime Ministers may have unveiled pictures, portraits and others. This is not the same as in unveiling the national symbol on the top of Parliament House that will hopefully be lasting more than 100 years that the present House has lasted. So it's not that. The question is not whether the Prime Minister had the right to do it. We don't get into such pettiness. We said that why when leaders from the opposition also called for a participatory environment. That's all, to show the breadth of heart. That was the only question that I had raised. On the question
no,
of
but let's
the
now
program.
come to the mouth of the lion, because what I did is when I was hearing Kanchan Gupta speaking, just one second, Sanju. What I did is I got our producers to pull out from the Sarnath Museum website what the lion on top of the Sarnath stambh looks like. So now, there you see the image on your right is the image from the Sarnath Museum website, right? So it's the ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India website, which is now on your screen. There it is on your screen right now. There the mouth is open. Let our producer zoom in to the extent that's possible. There the mouth of the lion is open. So I think Kanchan had a point where he says, don't look at what you see in your textbook, because that's really just a pencil drawing. Go back to what's maybe the mouth is open a little bigger, but hey, none of us are experts on this. But that lion looks closer to the lion that we're seeing on top of Parliament versus an actual textbook. That image from the text, from the website of Sarnath Museum, asi.org gallery. So if you want to go and check this out yourself, if this debate is something that's got you agitated, the mouth is open. So it's not as if the mouth is shut. And in that sense, Sanju Verma, Kanchan Gupta makes an important point that look at what you are comparing with. Don't compare with a pencil drawing. Then, of course, it looks very different. Compare with the original.
You know, Rahul, I want to make one thing very clear. The opposition has got into this habit of indulging in politicizing anything and everything because they're electorally vanquished. You know, the semantics does not matter. The core, the nub of the issue is this, Rahul, that please understand right from the word go, when the Central Vista project was announced, petition after petition after petition was filed by the Congress and a whole host of opposition leaders saying that democracy khatre mein hai because Central Vista project was not needed. Whereas the hard truth is that way back in 2012, 10 years back, Jairam Ramesh had written to the then Speaker Veera Kumar saying that the current structure is unsafe, dangerous, is not completely earthquake resistant, and we need a parliament which is fully functional in terms of a new building. And what a travesty of fate and what a travesty of justice that today the Congress and a bunch of opposition leaders who are trying to reclaim their political capital now find a problem and have a quibble with the Prime Minister inaugurating the cast of the emblem. They don't have a problem with whether the mouth is 2 inches wide or 2 inches, smaller. Their problem is that why is it that they were not invited? I just want to tell them one thing. How is it that you want an invitation now? Because this is the very structure that you were completely against, and had it not been Justice Kanwal of the Supreme Court, who in January 2022 said, go ahead with the Central Vista project, no environmental clearances were flouted by the Modi government, no land use norms were flouted by the Modi government, maybe the Central Vista project would not have even come to fruition. And Rahul, this is just a part of the project. The entire Central Vista building is still not complete. When it is complete, Prime Minister Modi, being the gracious and generous leader that he is, I'm sure the opposition will be invited. But then people like Jawahar Sirkar will say, "Arey, humko invitation kyun diya? Humko falane ne bulaya nahi gaya tha." So the opposition is completely electorally demolished, and that is the reason they try to bring these innocuous things into play to reclaim political capital. My message to Mr. Sirkar is, पहले बंगाल से बाहर अपनी पार्टी को चुनाव जीतना सिखाइए. You said
okay, this has nothing to do with elections outside Bengal. Okay, now I don't want to get diverted because it's now back. What we've established over the course of this debate has literally played itself out over the last half hour or so. And I want to go back to Aryamar Sundaram, is if you compare with the Sarnath lions on top of the Ashoka pillar, their mouth is open, and I am the last thing close to an expert on archaeology of any kind, but the mouth seems bigger. The likes of Jawahar Sirkar say it's more ferocious. Others have jumped in to say it represents toxic masculinity. I don't know what about those lions represent toxic masculinity, but people are seeing it just what you see is actually just dependent on the lenses that you've got on.
Look, that's why I said, Rahul, earlier, let's understand one thing. Our national emblem are the lions. The national emblem are the lions which are structured. Artistic depiction of these lions could vary from time to time.
No, but can I ask you a question? Like we have the flag, and I'm genuinely wanting to understand from you. Like there's the flag, you can't tweak the flag. So can you tweak the way can you tweak the representation of the lions? Like, isn't there a particular form in which those lions are supposed to be depicted? Can that be tweaked? Can the mouth be opened more?
That is the whole point. The lions have been taken from a three-dimensional Sarnath lions. Two-dimensional on paper, it will look different.
Correct.
The fact is, what is the emblem? The national flag is very simple. It is saffron, white and green with the chakra in the middle. It is very, very simple. Now, it can be depicted two-dimensionally because anyway the flag does not have depth. Now, this is three-dimensional to start with.
Correct.
Artistic depiction of it may vary. That's why I said the true test is disrespect being shown to the emblem? If disrespect is being shown to the emblem, then certainly it is a cause to complain. But if the artistic depiction may vary slightly here and there, it is not something to complain about.
Jawahar Sirkar, I think that's the critical point Aryama Sundaram makes.
Critically say, I prefer the other one to this one. We should have stuck with the other depiction, not this depiction. Those are critical comments on how you view it. But I do not think it's a matter to make a mountain out of a molehill. On the contrary, I see nothing wrong in it.
Jawahar Sirkar.
Let us leave it to the people. Let us leave it to the people to take a view of it, a two-dimensional, three-dimensional, and such other buckets of wisdom that we have gone through.
Leave it to the people.
Let me
Sanju, let him speak, please.
No, Jawahar
No, listen.
Let him speak. Jawahar Sirkar, the principal charge is you've created a mountain out of a molehill by comparing a 2D image with a 3D image. Jawahar Sirkar.
No. Thank you for the 1 hour on discussion of the mountain or the molehill. Can you put 4 Disney lions and say that I have put 4 lions? Think of it. And opening up your mouth by an inch makes a lot of difference. I wish the lady, I can't see her, tried it. By an inch or 2 inches. They make a lot of difference. It's a question of perception. I've been in charge of culture. I've been in charge of ASI. I know what I'm talking about. So there is a distortion. Okay, there is a difference, and whether that amounts to distortion or disrespect is for others to decide. I have pointed out to the difference. I have pointed out and have given my very personal view that it amounts to a distortion, and a national symbol, national flags and others do not permit an inch of this distortion at all. They don't permit.
No, but it comes back to the point Aryama Sundaram makes, Rahul Srivastava, where if you look at what's in our textbooks in school, for example, or in any, like if you pick up a copy of the Constitution, you're looking essentially at a 2D image. You have to compare with what's on top of Sarnath to actually get a sense of what that 3D image looks like.
No. I have never...
See,
no,
Rahul,
sir. I have
Jawahar
never
Sirkar,
compared a 2D to a 3D.
No, Jawahar Sirkar even doubted the quality of the caste and national emblem. Read out his tweet. He says Modi has hired...
See, I am still doubting it. I am still doubting.
Rahul Srivastava.
See, Rahul, I have known Mr. Sarkar when he was the culture secretary heading the ASI, and he has,
Rahul Srivastava.
Mr. Sarkar does have, he knows art, he knows archaeology, but the fact is that when he says, if you increase it by an inch, but has anybody measured how many inch is the open mouth if it is magnified 20 times of the real size? Now, the lot is being talked about the three-dimensional picture. This is the true copy of the Constitution of India, Rahul. And this is the lion. Now, how can you measure? If you see the side profile here, then the mouth is open.
Just lift it a bit. It's getting cut. Just lift it a bit.
How do you say that this is 1 inch wider or 1 inch narrower? Now, that's where lies the catch. That when you're magnifying a small picture or an object into a size which is 9,500 kilos and actually 6.5 meters in height, is it distortion deliberate, or is it a distortion which happens because it was being done? Rahul, I think the opposition is losing a plot where I think what the real issue is that why the opposition wasn't there. Why the opposition wasn't there? If you talk to the government, they say that on the 10th of December, when the foundation stone was laid, the opposition boycotted. 15 odd parties got together as a premeditated decision, boycotted it. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Ghulam Nabi Azad, both leaders of the two houses were invited, they stayed away. Trinamool Congress, barring BJD, Bhartari Mahatab, AIDMK, there was nobody else. Now, then comes the Constitution Day, very important day in the history of India, 14th of November 2021. The entire opposition boycotted. Now, these are precedents being set by the government and the opposition. They are collectively eroding the credibility of Parliament. It's not you doing this, I am doing this. I've seen Parliament for 26 years.
It's important.
Rahul, I want to make a quick point.
Okay, Sanju, very quick point. 20 seconds.
Rahul, this is neither about the mouth being 5 inches wider or 5 inches lower. This is not about 2D versus 3D. This is about the fact that the opposition simply wants to politicize every issue. And let me tell you that Jawahar Sirkar even doubted the credibility of the contracts given to Tata Projects and Shapurji Pavanji Mistry. He said these are cronies of the Modi government who are building a substandard building. I want to ask Mr. Sirkar, are you willing to delete your tweet where you have questioned the credibility of the Modi
that's another debate. We'll call you
to
back for
Tata
it.
Projects
We'll hopefully have
and
Jawahar Sirkar back as well. I think, okay, Mr. Sarkar, since that charge was leveled at you, 20 seconds for a quick counter and then I need to wrap.
Why did you doubt the credibility?
Okay, now you've leveled the charge. Let him respond.
Why did you doubt the credibility
Jawahar Sirkar.
of Shapurji Pavanji Mistry?
Will you ask her to?
Are you willing to delete
Jawahar
your
Sirkar,
tweet?
fader goes down. Jawahar
Are
Sirkar.
you willing to delete your...
I had meant Patel, the architect. I had meant Patel. Will you delete her sound, please? I had meant Bimal Patel, Mr. Modi's very chosen homemade architect. That's all. That's all.
So please stop making frivolous allegations on Twitter which you can't substantiate, Mr. Sirkar. We know you're a Mamata Banerjee.
Bimal Patel,
but
the
please
crony.
don't embarrass yourself.
Bimal Patel, the crony architect.
This project was handed to Shapurji
I referred to Bimal Patel. Bimal Patel, the crony architect.
Do you understand the meaning of competitive bidding or not?
Will you cut the noise?
Or after joining Trinamool Congress,
Oh, nonsense.
you have left every
I understand
semblance
this
of
much more.
sanity.
Okay.
Please don't doubt
I
the
had meant
integrity of
Bimal
the Modi
Patel,
government.
the crony architect,
This is
and
a
that's
project
all.
which stands for a strong power in India. And if you have a problem with it, too bad for you.
I think what we've been able to do during the course of this debate is cover a lot of ground. You know, you've heard different perspectives on this live debate. We've covered a lot of ground. Some people just dialed in wanting to be on the show, and that's how we managed to get some additional voices as well. Sunil Deore joins us. He's the sculptor, and it's a very important voice to hear from the sculptor because Sunil Deore has now set off a national storm between the opposition and the government. Sunil, they're saying that you widened the mouth, your lions are more ferocious. This is like the angry Hanuman versus the more benign Hanuman. Some people are seeing toxic masculinity in your lions, that you basically messed with, tweaked and changed our constitutional symbols. How do you respond to these charges?
in Hindi?
हाँ, आपको जिस भाषा में बोलना है, हिंदी अंग्रेजी सब बराबर है हमारे लिए.
हाँ. नहीं, मैंने जो किया है वो एज पर रिप्लिका किया है. उसका जो एंगल, जो फोटोग्राफ का एंगल आया है, उसमें ये एंगल आपको दिख रहा है.
दिखाओ पूरा स्क्रीन दिखाओ. जस्ट कट टू हिम, शो अस व्हाट ही इज सेइंग. पास दिखाइए कैमरे के. हाँ, सही से दिखाइए.
ये एंगल आपको दिखाई दे रहा है.
करेक्ट.
ये एंगल, और ये भी तो छोटा मॉडल है, लेकिन जो फोटोग्राफ वायरल हो रहा है वो इस एंगल से हो रहा है.
हाँ.
तो एंगल का भी बहुत डिफरेंस है. हमने पूरा ऑथेंटिक मॉडल से स्टडी करके उसका पूरा हिस्ट्री जान के उसके पर काम किया है. तो
नहीं,
ये
आपके हिसाब से कितना फर्क है? थोड़ा लाइन को अपने पास लाइए ना, अच्छे से दिखाइए.
नथिंग.
कोई फर्क नहीं है. वो तो
कोई
लग रहा है
फर्क
कि उसका
नहीं है.
मुंह ज्यादा खुला हुआ है आपके लायंस का.
ये देखिए, मुंह खुला होने का वो जो ओरिजिनल रिप्लिका है वो है 3-3.5 फीट की.
हाँ.
जो अशोक कालीन बनी हुई है, उसका आप प्रोपोर्शन चेक कीजिए और मेरे लॉयन का चेक कीजिए. एग्जैक्टली हमने उसको एनलार्ज किया है.
नहीं, ये जो बात हो रही कि पहले हनुमान जी थोड़े से बिनाइन से थे, अब वो थोड़े से
हनुमान जी कौन से? हनुमान जी कौन से?
वो जो गाड़ी के पीछे पोस्टर लगता है उसकी बात कर रहे हैं. वो एंग्री हनुमान का आपने देखा होगा ना. वो कह रहे हैं कि वैसे
नहीं जानता हूँ. ये मैं नहीं जानता.
अच्छा, वो कंट्रोवर्सी के बारे में ही आपको नहीं मालूम है?
नहीं, ये नहीं जानता हूँ.
आपकी ब्रीफ क्या थी? क्योंकि आप स्कल्प्टर हैं, आपकी ब्रीफ क्या थी सुनील भाई?
मेरी ब्रीफ ये थी कि जो स्कल्पचर है उसका ही रिप्लिका मुझे करना है.
तो आपको किसी ने नहीं बोला कि पहले लायन थोड़ा सा खामोश था, उसको थोड़ा सा खतरनाक बनाइए क्योंकि
लॉयन
छाती का साइज बढ़ाइए, ये सब आपको किसी ने नहीं कहा?
नहीं, ये किसी ने नहीं कहा. कुछ नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ. एज एन आर्टिस्ट आर्किटेक्चरल टीम, ये सब मिला के सब डिस्कशन होके उस पर स्टडी होके ये हमने काम किया है।
कितना मुश्किल था आपने जो तमाम स्कल्पचर्स किए और इसमें क्या स्टडी किया आपने, कैसे आपने इसको किया, कितना टाइम लगा, कितना मुश्किल था ये करना आपके लिए?
इसको 9 महीने का टाइम लगा है हमें, और इसमें मुश्किल ये थी कि वो चैलेंज ये था कि क्रेन का कैपेसिटी, टावर क्रेन का कैपेसिटी 1.5 टन था और ये पूरा स्कल्पचर है 9.5 टन का। तो इसको हम पार्टली वहां ले जाके वहां हमने उसको ब्रीजिंग करके फिनिशिंग किया है।
क्या इतना बड़ा अशोक स्तंभ कहीं और पे है या सबसे बड़ा अशोक स्तंभ है ये?
मेरे ख्याल से ये सबसे मैं इतना नहीं जानता हूँ, लेकिन ये जो आर्किटेक्चर ने साइज डिसाइड किया वो साइज में हमने इसको बनाया है।
ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आपको किसने दिया सुनील भाई?
ये टाटा प्रोजेक्ट लिमिटेड की तरफ से।
तो डायरेक्टली गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से या बीजेपी की तरफ से नहीं आया आपके पास?
नहीं, ये टाटा प्रोजेक्ट लिमिटेड ने मेरा मॉडल अप्रूवल किया जो सामने दिख रहा है आपको।
कितने का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था, अगर मैं आपसे पूछ सकता हूँ कितने पैसे लगे?
मैं आपको नहीं बोल सकता,
बता दो।
नहीं, ऐसी बात नहीं बोल सकते, ये हमारे बीच में होता है ना।
नहीं ठीक है, मेरा तो काम है ट्राई करना, पूछना मेरी जिम्मेदारी है।
नहीं, एक अच्छी बात है, आप टाटा प्रोजेक्ट लिमिटेड से आप पूछ सकते हो।
तो आप बेसिकली ये बोल रहे हैं कि जो सारनाथ का एक्चुअल लायन है आपको भी हूबहू वही लायन बनानी, आपको किसी ने नहीं बोला कि छाती बड़ी कर दो, मुंह खोल दो, खतरनाक बना दो, ये सब किसी ने नहीं कहा?
ऐसा कुछ नहीं कहा है। एस्थेटिक सेंसली मुझे वो बहुत अच्छा मॉडल लगता है और उसी का हमने रिप्लिकेट किया है।
Well, I'm very glad I could get you on the show, Sunil Deora. That's a very important perspective to have. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and appreciate you joining us. So the sculptor saying, he's got the whole element of the angle at which the photograph is taken from. If you look at the lion from down below, it looks as if its mouth is open, bigger. If you look at it from the top, very naturally, the mouth doesn't look quite as threatening. I don't want to take a side. You've heard different perspectives. You've heard from the INB media advisor. You've heard from the BJP spokesperson. You've heard from a Supreme Court lawyer. You've heard from the sculptor. You've heard also from the artist. And you've heard from Jawahar Sircar from the Trinamool. Now, you make what you will about whether this is being tweaked. On balance, especially after listening to the sculptor, it seems that it isn't much of a change. Maybe minor changes, but that could happen as you just try and copy such a big design, increase it from a small size to a much bigger size, but at least changing it wasn't part of the brief. That seems quite clear. For the rest of it, I don't tell you what to think. We put out different perspectives. We leave it to you, our viewers, to decide whose side of the story you're on. I'm slipping into a break. I'll have more for you when I come back on the other side. Stay with us.
With every sunrise comes new beginnings, new opportunities and new stories. And that's why we're first up. While you're sleeping, we're hard at work to ensure you get the perfect news shot every morning. Get you all the updates. Our morning mission to get you news that's fresh and packed with flavor. Watch First Up every weekday morning with me, Akshata Nandagopal, right here on India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now.
At 9 p.m. on the news today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. A fierce controversy has broken out over the depiction of the national symbol atop the new Parliament building. Is this a departure from the original Ashoka pillars in Sarnath? And is this an insult to the national symbol? That's going to be a big talking point on the news today. Also on the show, we'll be bringing you ground reports from all the flood affected areas in the country. And we'll also ask, Shiv Sena decides to back Draupadi Murmu as president. Is this the first step towards Uddhav Thackeray's possible Ghar Vapsi? All that and much more on the news today.
You're on board the Newstrack. The onset of the monsoon is creating mayhem across the country. From Maharashtra and Gujarat to Telangana and Karnataka, states are drowning in misery. And there is no immediate relief in sight, with a red alert sounded for the next couple of days.
If you can take an overall look in terms of the kind of flooding that has taken place in low-lying areas and other parts of Navsari and Gujarat, then you will be shocked and amazed to see the resilient spirit of the people also who have to put up with this year after year. Rains cause heavy damage, grounds get flooded, and small villages and hamlets almost get buried underwater, or in worst cases even get swept away. These people you see on the tracks of Navsari railway station are forced to risk their lives and walk through danger because there is no other path apart from the railway tracks. The water you see does not allow them to walk from under the underpass. Whether nature's fury will numb itself down or not, that is only something that time will tell. With cameraman Mangesh Ambre, Dev Kotak for India Today.
This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here in the Newstrack team, goodbye, good night.
traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories from every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
You are watching India Today.
Tonight at 9 p.m. on the News Today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. A fierce controversy has broken out over the depiction of the national symbol atop the new Parliament building. Is this a departure from the original Ashoka pillars in Sarnath? And is this an insult to the national symbol? That's going to be a big talking point on the News Today. Also on the show, we'll be bringing you ground reports from all the flood-affected areas in the country. And we'll also ask, Shiv Sena decides to back Draupadi Murmu as president. Is this the first step towards Uddhav Thackeray's possible Ghar Wapsi? All that and much more on the News Today.
Presented by Berger Easy Clean. No dag, no dhabba, only beautiful walls.